And I guarantee if you are fair and factual, that will resonate with the troops.
You protect cops in a sense that you need to know peace officers' Bill of Rights. You need to know the process. And like you said, just stick to the facts and be fair, because you're not protecting anybody when you don't do that.
Exactly. Very much. They take the stuff away from you in which we identify as a cop. You work really hard for the badge, the gun, the ID, and they're taking all that. You cannot exercise peace officer power. That's a huge deal, and taking that knife right to you.
Okay, Code 6. Andy, thanks for showing up, man.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, look, I want to start off with something along the lines of, do you ever wonder why all other agencies use 10 codes and how come LAPD uses just regular codes?
I think a lot of these agencies just want to sound fancy.
Well, or we want to be different, right?
Or
we want to be
different.
special. I never understood that. And I do understand, and I don't want to touch too much, but you were CHP.
I was, yeah.
Before you went to Santa Ana. Do they use 10 codes as well?
They not only use 10 codes, they use 11 codes as well.
So you had to learn 10 and 11 codes.
10 and 11 codes.
That sounds like too much to do, man.
You get through it.
Annie, let me ask you this. We met under great circumstances. We were with CalFIA, and you came up and said, hey, man, I really like your stuff. I got to ask you, what did you think when you first saw this internal affairs police podcast? What ran through your mind, if any?
The first thing that caught me was the graphics, and that was catchy. I logged on, I started watching some of the podcasts, listening to the guests, and I really liked the tone, the stories that the guests were talking about, because I really feel this is an element in law enforcement that is overlooked for the common officer. The line level officer, they don't know about this stuff. They don't know enough about this stuff until they're in the hot seat.
Speaking of the hot seat, you ever wonder how all these decades have gone by, right? You retired with 28, I retired with 24 years on from LAPD. Why there's such a negative stigma, I should say, associated with internal affairs? In other words, why is it so bad to be part of IAA? Any thoughts?
I think the stigma has just come from how secretive it is in an organizational structure. They don't come out until it's something bad has happened. They have this connotation that once they do show up at a scene, at an investigation, they call you out a roll call, whatever it is, the thing that goes through your mind is discipline. I'm in trouble. Oh man, what happened? And I think that's just what has grown in the culture, in law enforcement culture. And nobody has taken the lead to talk about it until you, my brother, has come out with this show. But nobody's really taken the lead to come out and talk to and educate officers on this is the role of internal affairs.
Yeah, would it be fair to say, and I can tell you from experience, that anyone come into the academy and say, hey, look, we're IA, let us tell you what the functions are so that you don't get any misconceptions about what we do? Or did someone in, one of your training officers when you're on probation, what did they tell you about internal affairs?
I honestly don't remember the academy, an IA component in the academy.
Right.
I don't remember if they did. They could have. I just don't recall.
Right.
You're getting so many things thrown at you.
Of course. And all you want to do is graduate.
Yeah. After the academy, I don't recall an FTO talking about it with me. At the highway patrol, it's the huge monster of the statewide. I don't recall having that conversation. It wasn't until I got to Santa Ana PD where during my orientation, a sergeant came in who was an IA sergeant. He came in and he ultimately became a chief, but he kind of gave a blurb of, hey, this is IA, this is what we do. And he was very, very negative Very negative. I remember I talked to the guys I got hired with, and we were like, man, I hope I never get called into IA after he walked out of the room.
Andy, would it be fair to say that perhaps it's the way we treat each other, how we give ourselves that particular negative stigma?
Are you talking about IA or?
Yeah, I would say, well, who is to blame? I guess that's what I'm trying to get to is who is to blame about the negative stigma about internal affairs? Because if we keep hearing when we're young officers, and for all the young officers that are listening and watching, is if we keep saying those people there, don't talk to them, or like you just said, they only come out when something bad happens, shouldn't we be better at the treatment of this particular function? What do you think?
I agree with that. I think I can speak for my former agency. I think it kind of falls on leadership, senior leadership at the top. IA worked directly for the Office of the Chief in my former agency. So let's educate our officers on simple things like POBAR. You know,
Right,
hey guys,
Peace Officers' Bill of Rights.
this is what's going on with POBAR. The appeal procedure.
Yes.
Hey, like you get in trouble, you get an admin or whatever. This is how you go about it. Skelly. That's simple stuff. It's not secretive stuff,
No.
but they were very separate. Like, oh no, they have the association. Let them go to the association, and they can figure it out. And it's a process. It's a part of the process. And it's not a secret. Let's educate our officers. I think we would have a better working relationship.
Yeah, responsibility goes both ways.
Totally.
100%. Let me ask you this. If you're in a room full of sergeants that are getting ready to begin their assignment in internal affairs, what's the one thing you want them to know about that job?
I would tell them, be fair and stick to the facts. Don't go fishing for something that is outside the scope of your investigation. Stick to the facts. What can you gather? What can you compile and put in your final report, whatever that work looks like or it's called? Put it in there and make sure everything is based on facts, not opinions. It's not for your opinion. This is where you only list the facts. So, Sergeant, IA, Sergeant guy, gal, go forth and do that. And I guarantee if you are fair and factual, that will resonate with the troops.
Yeah. Would it be, you're speaking from experience,
Yes.
where it hasn't always been facts and fair.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and you know what? That is the unfortunate part about all that is at sometimes we take it personal. I've said this before, where there is some biases, favoritism and stuff like that. And I suppose that's when we lose the integrity of this whole process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Would it be also fair to say, and let me ask you this, do you think the job of internal affairs is to protect cops?
Oh, wow. Protect cops, huh? I think the job exists for transparency. So to protect the law enforcement idea as a whole, as a greater good. I think that's what it's there for. So to protect cops, I would say yes, to protect all cops.
Right. The integrity, the system,
Yes.
the process. Yeah, because sometimes, and I teach for Savage Training Group, and we teach the internal affairs course, and we ask that question to young sergeants who are wanting to learn about doing IAs and all that stuff, and some say yes. And then what happens is we'll say, okay, well, congratulations. Here's your next sexual assault case. This cop that's got a whole bunch of DUIs, and here's this latest DUI. And not only did he get a DUI, but he caused a lot of injuries. And then you're like, well, I thought you said it's here to protect cops. Totally understandable. I'd be the first one to tell you, yes, you protect cops in a sense that you need to know Peace Officers' Bill of Rights. You need to know the process. And like you said, just stick to the facts and be fair, because you're not protecting anybody when you don't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Trip down memory lane. I got to ask you that. Let's see. You retired as a commander. You did 28 years
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we started at CHP, and I know you ended up in Santa Ana. Kind of, let me ask you, what is the biggest lesson that you have learned in your 28 years of law enforcement?
Biggest lesson.
Or lessons?
I would say slow down. Slow down. Take your time. You will learn as long as you are willing to learn. Okay, you're going to learn what you want to know. I want to learn gang stuff. I want to learn traffic or whatever. I want to become a detective. Take your time. Do things right. Do your job out there. You take those reports, even the ones that the DUI. Oh man, this guy's deuce. Oh, man.
No one wants the deuce.
Nobody wants the
The
deuce.
TCs, the collisions, and you're like,
Nobody wants. Just take the report. Take the report. Give that citizen something. Remember that person. It's their worst day of their life. Okay. For you're doing it all the time. Oh, that's another crash. I don't want to do this. A gangster with a gun. Cool. Yeah. That's cool. Oh, you have all this dope on you. That's cool. That's sexy. We got to do it all. We got to do it all. So just take your time, do it all. You'll become more well-rounded. You'll become more exposed to things, and you're just going to be a better cop at it.
Yeah. And let me ask you this also in Santa Ana PD. Tell me about, if any, right? Tell me about that one job or that one assignment that you wanted to do or you were interested in doing, but you just never had an opportunity to do it because you promoted or you did something else, if there's any.
Yeah, so funny coming from the Highway Patrol. 7 years the Highway Patrol would have, somebody would think, oh, he had his fill of traffic, right? I go to Santa Ana PD. I lateraled over there because I wanted to work like a gang investigation and assignment. And I ultimately made it into gangs, and I thought, wow, I reached the top of it. It's done. I can quit tomorrow. And then other doors started opening up for me. I started promoting and things. And I started looking at traffic. I was like, hey, it'd be cool to ride a bike. Maybe ride a motorcycle. They wear the cool boots and the breeches. Right on, And I never rode a bike.
It never happened.
Patrol. No. And so I interviewed, and, you know what, Andy, if we had another spot, we would have given it to you. Okay, no problem. They test again. I interview. Man, if there was one more, Andy, there'd always a bridesmaid, never a bride,
Is it because the other person just...
They were already like a qualified motor, certified motor.
Radar, school.
Yeah, they had all this
all the
other
bitch and stuff.
And I'm like, oh, well. My wife told me, hey, as I progressed, I was like, hey, honey, I was like a commander. I was like, hey, there might be an opening in traffic. She's like, you're not getting on a bike at this age. Forget it. You got to listen to the boss.
Got to listen to the boss. Speaking of bosses, here you are as a commander. We were talking before we started the episode. I did ask you that you're a sergeant. You were a sergeant for quite some time, I take it, and then next thing you know, the rank structure kind of doesn't fall in normally like other agencies. You just bypass lieutenant, captain, and you become a commander.
Yes.
And then a deputy chief, and then, of course, ultimately the chief of police. So here you are as a sergeant, and you get invited to this commander spot, or did they give you a spot that you perhaps had a lot of leadership in it?
So I had tested for commander. I passed the process. I was on a list. And I had, at the time as a sergeant, I was in the training division.
Okay.
Doing use of force stuff. I really enjoy that. I put in to go back to patrol. I figure, okay, if my number comes up as commander, I want to be back out on patrol as a sergeant, get that experience. The deputy chief of field operations needed to fill a watch commander spot at the time. And the shift I was going to be the senior sergeant. He told me, I need you to do this for me. And so he just put me in the role as an acting watch commander. So I was still a sergeant, but I was an acting commander.
Right.
And I was getting all that experience. And he, I'm very thankful that he did give me that, because he threw a bunch of commander style projects at me. And it really gave me a leg up on some of the other guys who got promoted before me, and then they got inserted into that role and they were a little lost. I was already getting that stuff.
They threw all these projects at you. Would one of those projects be anything to do with internal affairs?
Yes. So at Santa Ana, we called the investigation, an IA investigation. We called them admins.
Okay.
So admins would come my way. I was responsible for reviewing them for content and make sure they had all the facts in there. Sergeants would prepare them. They'd send them to me. I would review them. I would send them up the chain to my deputy chief. They'd go through the chain. If it was something where an officer was looking at discipline, it would run the route of the chain of command. Somewhere up there, the deputy chiefs and the chief would roundtable this. They would determine, okay, it's sustained, not sustained, whatever it may be. Comes back down to me, to the commander, the affected commander. Here's what we want done. You're going to write an official reprimand, or write them up, whatever, or they're getting a day off with options, without options. And here you have to write up your concurrence memo, et cetera, serve them with it, with the discipline, and go forth.
These are all little softball questions. I got to ask you a little bit of a hardball. And we can speak in generalities, but has there been a situation where you were to write up a finding, if you will, right? Whether it's going to be sustained or not sustained, like you said, where you perhaps didn't think that was the right adjudication?
Yes. I remember arguing it with the IA commander, arguing this stuff with the IA commander. Like the guy at the time who was sitting in that role, he had a lot of experience in IA, and he was pretty sharp. And when we were sergeants, I went to him for a lot of advice, and he never really steered me wrong. And so I would listen to him, and he was a pretty patient guy. But there was a couple times I did argue some things where I did not agree with a sustained finding. That's where I learned as a commander. It fell on my shoulders to include in my memo any mitigating factors in there. And that's where I would write down that information. I would also have to include like the officer's prior discipline history.
Yeah. Sustained. For the most part.
In that, any sustained findings, prior sustained findings in that. And, but I would definitely make sure that I would include the mitigating factors and simple things like officer backed up into another car or something. I remember this one very clearly. But the officer was on patrol pulling up to jam a gangster. As he pulls up and he's getting out of the car, gangster turns around, reaches for the waistband. In front of the waistband, officer's like, "Oh crap!" He's going to pull a gun or something like that. So officer throws it in reverse and goes in reverse, hits a parked car. That's a significant mitigating factor, for sure.
100%, yes.
But it wasn't really looked at in the IA, in the admin portion of it. So I made sure to throw that in there. So when it does go back up for review, they have that in front of them.
Right. Would it be fair to ask, if you were chief for a day, would you change the process a little bit, or do you feel this? So as you sit here today and reflect on the times that you were analyzing and writing it up and presenting to your bosses, would you change anything on that process at all that perhaps can alleviate a little bit of the misconception about IA? What do you think?
I think as far as the process goes, at Santa Ana, I think the process was decent. I think what we talked about at the beginning of this, the education, the front loading of our personnel, I would change that as a culture. I would definitely try to change that stigma of IA and their role or their function within our organization. I want to make sure that I would make sure, if I was the chief, my personnel understood. They're not here to chop your head off.
Yeah.
No.
the punishment is not really the penalty. The punishment is the process. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and again, you have 1 year, from the day they find out,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes that process drags out that full year.
Yeah.
And you may have a copper just sweating it out. And maybe, and so if it's something obviously very, very egregious, maybe they've already been relieved of duty and appropriate steps have been taken. But if you're looking at a copper, maybe they're not a good driver and they've had a couple TCs. They keep backing up into a pole or whatever, and now it's their third or fourth one and they're sweating it like, oh God, and they drag this out for a year. And then they lay some heavy penalty on this copper. It's like, now we're messing with this person's livelihood. And we still have a responsibility to do something.
Correct.
But, let's make this a priority or get on it.
And doing something, would it be fair to say that it impacts everyone?
Organizationally?
Yes.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you're
How big is
crushing
Santa
morale.
Ana?
At our best, we were like sitting at tickling 400.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that if you have an IA in Santa Ana, everybody pretty much knows?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Right? And the reason why I bring that up is I've never really realized, and again, I come from a big agency, big machine. I mean, at one point we had over 4,000 public complaints in the city of Los Angeles that expands over 22 or 23 divisions. So, people don't really, one division in the San Fernando Valley, Devonshire division, won't be impacted by that decision if you work Southeast. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But agencies mid-sized like Santa Ana, everybody knows, and the impact could maybe affect morale.
Oh, for sure. Oh, and it has. I've seen it. I've seen things like that affect morale. You bring a copper back to work. You've relieved them of duty. Now you bring them back to work. But okay, just a desk. Don't go outside yet. We're just gonna keep you inside, and then you know what? We got to relieve you of duty again. That's huge. You're pulling the rug right out from under their feet. They come back to work and they're thinking, okay, they wouldn't have brought me back to work if it was going to be really bad. And then you get walked out again, and that's a humiliating process for you as well.
Demoralizing.
Very much. They take the stuff away from you in which we identify as a cop. You work really hard for the badge, the gun, the ID, and they're taking all that. You cannot exercise peace officer power. That's a huge, huge deal, and taking that knife right to you. And like I mentioned earlier, you did something really DV stuff, whatever. Okay, we need to do
different.
that.
Totally.
But some of these other reasons, let's think about this and let's make sure we're doing it correctly, not knee-jerk reaction.
You bring up a good point in terms of you feel demoralized. It impacts the entire organization. As you sit here today and we're having this conversation, do you think that we, not just your agency, all agencies, could have done a better job in terms of mental wellness?
Yes. Yes. I mean, thinking back when, back in the 90s, I first started, my first traumatic incident that I experienced as a young copper. That's the first time I ever saw death. I heard people dying and screaming for help and everything. I didn't know what was going on after that. Like, why am I having nightmares? I scare, and you can't sleep and all that stuff, yada, yada. Now, fast forward, there's been so much study on this topic, so much research, and we know so much. Yes, we need to push that more. We need to definitely make that an available resource in our culture, for sure. I know at my old agency, we were definitely doing a pretty good job at building something as it related to that.
Right. And with that example and those scenarios you just described, I get it. But what about with discipline?
Oh,
do you think that as we sit here today, you know what? We could have done much better for someone who's facing even serious allegations, even if you knew that that accused employee is going to get terminated? You know, were we really there for him in a mental, psychological way?
No, and I think that we are kind of confined by the parameters of, okay, I'm ordering you not to talk about this with anybody, and you're not to discuss it. And then as the investigators, you're not allowed to talk about it with anybody. You got to keep it in the all hush hush in the office back there. So everyone knows that, you know, Andy got walked out for whatever, or what they think he got walked out for, but nobody's allowed to talk about it. We can
but
only
we're the
whisper.
thin blue line.
But we're the thin blue line.
And we're brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And we're there for each other.
Right.
And during Thanksgiving, we have a potluck and we all get together and say how we're going to support one another. But when Andy walked out, no, I can't talk to him anymore.
Right.
Yeah. That's always been, and just lately I've been thinking about that. Like, man, you know what? We keep preaching this thin blue line that we're brothers and sisters. But when it comes to an IA, you know, I can't talk to you anymore. You know, there's got to be a way of changing that. What do you think?
That's a big topic. I've never really given that
some thought, right?
Part of it, yeah.
Me neither. Until just lately, I've been thinking about that, where we have this, and again, it can be the most egregious stuff. Let's just say it was your classmate, your academy classmate, right? You promoted, and he remained an officer, and you're a sergeant. You do an IA. Even better yet, you're in command staff, and here you are. You have to adjudicate this. I mean, he's your closest friend, right? For crying out loud, it was in my wedding. You know, we're together, and somehow, some way, culture dictates that, you know what, we can't talk to each other. I really honestly feel we got to do something better. You're right. We have parameters, you know, pole bar, you know, you can't talk. You got the gag order. I get all that. But there's got to be a way where we can say, hey, you know what, Andy, look, we just finished it, and we're going to turn it into to the boss next week. So hang tight. Hey, Andy, you know what? The boss is gone for like a couple days, but it looks like he's going to get this case presented to him, and hopefully you'll hear something in about two weeks. So my point is, if you walk them by the hand in that dark alley, because it's dark, then perhaps we can have healthier officers coming back to work, even though they committed an egregious allegation of misconduct that they weren't terminated, but they had to come back.
I think that's a great idea. Or communicate with their attorney so they can let them know or something. I think just that little bit of communication could probably go a long way. Yeah. Just giving them a little bit of an update as opposed to they don't hear anything for 364 days.
Yeah. And here you are. We're going to get scheduled on the 300 at the 11th hour. Andy, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Look, let's get to worst incident in your career.
Worst incident as a IA, or just worst incident?
Just worst incident. Something that just completely pops in your mind that you just been reminiscing ever since it happened.
I'd probably take it back to that first exposure to life and death as highway patrol officer, young highway patrol officer. Super Bowl Sunday, what was it, 1996, and skeleton crew. They sent me out to go check a disabled vehicle, good CHP stuff, right? Check a disabled vehicle, change your tire, all that stuff. I drive out on the freeway to go check it. I see a car on the side of the road and another car behind them. Some men are changing a tire. Mm-hmm. They're good to go. I go a little bit further down to see if there's another vehicle, maybe a little bit further down the road. Nothing. I get off freeway, turn around, I'm coming back. Maybe 3 minutes pass. As I'm coming back, I see black smoke coming up. It looks like it's coming from the freeway. As I get a little bit closer, those vehicles that I saw, they're now on fire, and there's a third vehicle crash. All lanes of freeway are blocked. I get over there. I jump over there. I start trying to figure out what's going on. I see the two guys that I saw changing the tire. Mm-hmm. One of them, he looks completely dead. He's on the side of the road next to one car that's on fire. The other guy is still kind of alive, but he's in bad shape. And he's next to another car that's on fire. I can hear a female screaming for help in Spanish. And I'm like, where's that coming from? Where's that coming from? It was coming from one of the other vehicles inside. And this vehicle is on fire, and I'm like trying to see inside. I can't see. The flames are getting bigger. I'm looking around like, what do I do? Where am I going? I go to my car, get the fire extinguisher out. I'm like, this is stupid. It's like spitting on it. I try to get close to the guy who's still alive, but the flames are too big now. The cries for help stop. I don't hear that anymore. People on the freeway are yelling, help them, do some. And I remember I got on my stomach, I put my jacket over my head, and I started belly crawling because the closer I would get, the heat from these cars was just immense.
Right.
And so I'm belly crawling, and I think I'll get over to that guy, I'll grab him by the arm and drag him to safety. And I remember feeling somebody grab me by my ankles and pull me back, and I lift the jacket off, I turn around, and it was an LAPD motor cop. And he's like, dude, there's nothing you can do. You're going to get hurt. And I'm like, let me go. He's like, no, don't. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. Since the whole freeway was shut down, I had no backup. This motor cop was it. Wow. Everything, fire department finally gets there. They put the flames out and everything. Those two gentlemen are dead. They look inside the car. There's definitely a body in there. They say, I think there's two in here. I can't tell. And then there was another guy who was a little bit further down the road. He's just sitting on the shoulder, and somebody tells me that guy was driving that truck. So I go over there and talk to the guy. The guy smelled like a brewery, coming home from a Super Bowl party. He was definitely had been drinking, so I started balancing him out. Passed every FST except the eyes. His eyes were jerking all over the place, so I stick the Paz in his mouth. 0.34. And he passed every FST. I gave him like a perfect balance and everything. So I arrest this guy and everything. And fast forward, I find out inside the van, the story was vehicle one had a flat tire, breaks down, pulls off to the side of the road, calls on the call box, says, hey, I broke down, I need help. Can you call my husband? They get CHP dispatch gets a hold of the husband, and the husband's brothers go out to fix the tire. They go over there, they're fixing the tire. Inside the disabled vehicle was mom and little girl, 4, 5-ish. And she's just kind of playing around. Deuce all over the freeway, all over the lanes. People are stopping and calling. He drifts onto the right shoulder, hits the husband's vehicle, pushes it into the other disabled vehicle, crushes one of them. The other one got hit and knocked around, and then his vehicle spins out. And people run up to his truck first and grab him out because it's caught on fire. So they grab the drunk out, take him to safety, and the vehicles start erupting into flames. Wow. Whole family wiped out right there. And I remember just seeing that. That was my first exposure, and everything was going so fast the rest of the night. Couldn't sleep. I kept hearing, the screams, all that stuff. So yeah, that one.
Wow.
That one always stuck with me.
Man, that's, you ever wonder what CHP functions are? That's one of them that you see quite often that you definitely don't want to experience. So I know not many, unless you work traffic and LEP or other agencies, you don't get to see stuff like that. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Hey, I did ask you to check out a video.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's get to watch this video. Let me set that up for you, which I did a breakdown already on it, but I wanted to get the opinion of my guest here, Andy. So basically, it's an Orlando PD officer who gets pulled over while he's on duty in his police vehicle by a Seminole Deputy County Sheriff. I'll let you take a look.
You gonna pull over?
Please say a command.
Pull over. Three 113 to 313.
What?
Do you?
I am going into work, my man. Why are you trying to pull me over as I'm going into work?
Because you're going 80 and a 45.
I am going into work.
Okay, what are you going to work for?
What does it look like I am dressed for?
I have
What does it look like I am dressed for?
My name is Deputy Hilton. I need to see your driver's license.
No.
Okay. 3113, copy at 1050. 10-4, I got a city, Orlando PD taking off from a traffic stop. It's going to be X-ray Foxtrot 6207, XF 6207.
Okay. First and foremost, what pops out of your mind out of this, this, what I would consider Blue Falcon first degree? Because you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm glad that you told me you were prior CHP, because I keep hearing these rumors or these stories where CHP officers have pulled over, officers. I would imagine getting pulled over in your private vehicle is one thing, but to get pulled over in a black and white, what's up with that? Talk to me. What do you think?
I had seen this video before.
Okay.
So it was kind of nice to watch it again, a little fun. When I first saw this video back when it first came out, I remember thinking like, what is this officer doing who's chasing him, the deputy?
Correct.
He's like almost in pursuit of this Orlando copper. Yeah. And it's like, hey, why don't you get on the radio and ask, hey, this officer just went by, high speed, can you call them, see if he's code 4? Is he in pursuit of something? Yeah. Is he en route to an emergency or something? Yeah. It's from just watching the video, it seemed like the deputy had it locked into his head. I need to pull this guy over.
Yeah.
This is a traffic stop.
Yeah.
And there could be other things going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like maybe the deputy, from his perspective, a little narrow-minded, maybe. It finally gets the guy to stop. It originally looked like the Orlando copper tries to pull over to maybe let this deputy pass.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't, so he just keeps on going. Yeah. And then he finally does pull over. He's like, what are you doing? What's going on? Yeah, like, are you code 4?
Yeah.
And there's a little confusion.
I'm working.
Yeah. And then it gets, I'm on my way
going
to work.
Yeah, I'm going to work. Yeah, I'm on my way to work.
And, at that point, it's like, damn, bro, why are you going 80 then in the 40-mile-an-hour zone? Yeah. Just because you're in the Batmobile doesn't mean, you can go Mach 3. We got to be smart, especially when you're in the super suit and the Batmobile. You gotta pay attention.
Yeah, the backstory is that he was told by his lieutenant to go ahead and do this because the neighbors have been complaining about this officer just flying down this one road on numerous occasions in the past. Let me ask you this, though, because I get it. I understand that. And I'm going to take, some heat, which I did when I did the breakdown about you cops think you guys are, above the law. They shouldn't do this.
Oh, there's a lot of comments about that on that
gosh.
video.
Yeah. And my thing is that I just don't know if me personally, I'm going to pull over someone else in their marked police vehicle. And which I wanted to ask you, there is other ways to handle it. Wouldn't you agree?
1,000%. 1,000%. Definitely other ways. The deputy, I didn't see him because it's from his body-worn camera perspective, but it almost seems like he's a little too emotional about it. Again, we got to tone that down.
Take it back.
Definitely tone it back. And I've been in that position too, where I got emotional making stops or contacting people. You learn though, but we got to tone it back for sure. Like, hey, dude, getting complaints. What's going on? That's why I pulled you over. We're getting complaints, dude. Yeah.
Or maybe
or maybe if we have these complaints, how about when we first receive these complaints to the sheriff's office, the captain of the station or whatever calls Orlando PD.
Do me a solid.
And say, hey, chief over there, this is what's going on. A, B, C, and D, talk to your guys. Yeah. And this is the highway they're going on. I don't know who lives here. You do.
Yeah. And if you are from the wonderful state of Florida and you're listening to all this, and we're speculating, but that phone call maybe could have happened, but I'm with you. If the sheriff could have just called the police chief in Orlando and say, hey, do me a solid. Can you please tell your guy to, slow down? There's other ways to handle it. That's all. It just, to this very day, it just, it doesn't happen quite often, right?
No.
Yeah, that's very unusual. Before we wrap it up, tell me about an arrest Because I know you work gangs, and here you are in Santa Ana PD. Tell me about that one arrest that needed to happen.
That one,
You know,
one that needed to happen.
Yeah, like
Wow.
you guys, let's just say detectives were there was a wanted person for these violent crimes, or here you guys are out on patrol, and you just, what, this arrest needs to happen, or that significant arrest. I guess that's the best way of putting it.
So I was a newly promoted patrol corporal. Okay, so over there we have a corporal rank, 2
Yeah.
stripes or whatever, and so I go to this young patrol team, and we get, and these guys were lions, bunch of lions, and they were looking for zebras
Hunters.
every night for sure. But they get this one call, hey, go check this garage in this back house of this fourplex. There's a guy back there shooting up dope in one of the garages, and he has 2 little kids in there. Wow. Oh, okay. So we go over there, we check it all out, and nothing. We don't see any evidence of that. All the garages are closed, no lights are on inside. Can't see anything. Okay. Anonymous reporting party. Okay, cool. We knock on some doors, no answers. All right. UTL, we leave. We get called back. Hey, the doors, the person's calling back. They said the door's open now. And the guy's in there, and the little kids are running around outside. It was winter time. It was freezing that night. So we respond back over there to the location now, the garage. Yeah, there's a garage door that's open. And as we're walking up to the garage, I see a sheet that's like up against the wall. Sheet pokes out, and I see this little face poke out and look at me, a little boy. 3 years old, 4
Okay.
years old maybe, wearing a raggedy old little T-shirt and just underwear.
Okay.
And that's it. And it was cold. It was cold that night. And I was like, hey, what's up? I waved to him, call him over. So we go over there and we pull back the sheet, and we see now not only 1, but 2 little kids. He had a little sister there who was like 2. And she is just in underwear and like a little T-shirt as well. And I was like, we're like, hey, where are your parents? Well, the other officers that were with me, the Lions, they go right past me, and they go kind of around the corner in this garage. And there's 2 males there in the process of shooting up. And, hey, grab them. We put the habeas corpus on them. We arrest them and grab the little kids out of there. Yeah. One of those guys is dad, and he scored his dope with whoever that other guy was with him, and they were in there partying, and he stuck his 2 little kids up against the wall, put
Behind
a sheet over them behind the
thinking
sheet.
it's going to be okay.
And that was it. And I remember this one really significantly because prior to becoming a parent, I would go to child abuse calls or whatever it may have been, and it's like, oh yeah, this sucks, and
Yeah.
we do the investigation,
Yeah.
and that was it. That one, though, I remember my 2 youngest kids were around that same age, and that just struck a nerve. I mean, it stood out. I remember we took these kids out of there, called child services, and they were. They just, poor little babies. I felt so bad. That's one of those where I just want to take them home and adopt them, but you can't,
Yeah. And that's
Just gotta do what you can do.
thanks for sharing that, man. That's police work, and not many people get to hear stories like that. We're about to wrap it up. Any advice? Leave the floor up to you. Any advice you have for anyone who's trying to come on to become a cop? What kind of advice you have for them, Andy?
Young copper, that 21-year-old adult wants to become a cop right now, I would advise them to wait. Wait a little bit. Give yourself a few years. And mostly for the retirement purpose. You got to work till you're 57. That's a long time. 21 years old, everything works good. Everything feels good. When you are 50 years old, things hurt.
Yes.
Give it some time. Go to school, get your education, get some life experience, travel a little bit maybe, and then come back and apply at 25, 26, 27. So this way, when you do retire, you're working a 30-year career, not 37-year career or whatever ridiculous thing they're putting on us. I would say for supervisors, new supervisors, tenured supervisors, be a good leader. Don't just be a sergeant. Don't just be the supervisor. Be a good leader to your team. Take care of them. Know policy. Know the law. Know what you can and can't do. So this way you can teach them, train them, guide them. Command staff. Definitely be the leader that your troops need you to be. Advocate for them when it is acceptable, when it's reasonable. Hold their feet to the fire when you need to, but be fair. So this way they know that you are fair. Hey, yeah, Commander Andy called me in there, chewed my ass, but it's done. Yeah. Don't hold grudges. Don't try to like
cut corners and do favors.
Don't try to make them your personal project. Don't do that. Yeah. Be fair.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it for stopping by. And look, if you like this episode, don't forget to click on the next one. And like always, please be safe out there. And don't forget to go Code 6. Thank you.